Oh, welcome to the Sharpe Club. Yes, I am right here. Absolutely. A little bit past 9 p.m. on the East Coast. It's Monday, which means now you have to hang out with me and a couple of my nutty friends, which is fine. The friends are cool and fun. And we're talking about something this evening, which I think people right now, particularly, are a bit concerned about in a good or maybe in a not so good way. The idea of technology, blockchain, money in the future. What's going to be happening, who's afraid, who's not. And I have brought with me a panel of people who are going to chat about those things and more. They probably won't bore you. I mean, they might, but no, I don't think they will. I do not think they will bore you. First, if I could, I want to bring on, if I could first, he is a tech company founder and a tech advocate, the man himself, Daniel Keller. How are you, sir?
Been called a lot of things, Larry, but boring's never one of them.
There we go. I had a feeling it wasn't going to be that. Yes. And also a kind of hard currency activist, the woman herself, Liberty Lyss. How are you?
Doing good. How about you guys?
Amazing. Happy that you're here.
Well.
I am waiting on one more person to pop up. So I think we may get one more, but we got some tech issues we're working on. We'll hope that person will pop up. Until then, let me ask you an important question, guys. Should we be afraid? Should we be afraid of money? It's a serious question. Should we be afraid that our money is losing its power, that our money is going to just go away from us? Should we be running away from money?
I'd say maybe
Fiat.
Yeah, fiat. Yeah, fiat. I'd say
Okay.
over 97% at this point, since 1913, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Tell me what
Larry,
you
I
mean by
think-
that, Liz. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's just insane. I've shared a few charts before of the Roman coinage, how they debased the silver currency back then. And
Yep.
it is almost like spot for spot, the chart goes up, and then all of a sudden it goes straight back down to zero. And I believe
Absolutely.
the saying goes, all roads return to Rome or lead to Rome. And it looks like we're following in those exact footsteps right now.
We're walking down that road. I don't like it. Daniel, tell me what's going on here.
I gotta agree with her 100%. I think we are headed down that road. The difference with where we're at now is we're in a paradigm shift. When Rome fell, there was no other way to move forward. So
Good
fiat
point.
is always destined to fail, but technology has given us a gift. Satoshi Nakamoto, when he penned the Bitcoin white paper, gave us another way, an opt-out society. And I think that's really where we're at. Is I've said this for years. There's going to be two means of adoption: natural transition, or some paramount moment that kind of turns the tides. And I'd say we're turning the tides right now. If you continue to watch what we're doing with the debt that the U.S. is taking on, and so on and so forth. And it's not just the U.S. debt. China is up to its eyeballs. The stock market is plummeting. It's a hell of a mess. So really, we have the perfect epiphany moment where we're going to be able to make a change. And I think the natural iteration is to start looking at technology, because libertarian at heart, man, like that's what I am. But I realized very early on, libertarian in people, difficult. Libertarian in code, right on. And I think
There we go. You're
Yep.
not wrong. You are totally not wrong on that one at all. But when I add that piece, though, what you just said, right? Doesn't the average American, I know Liz agrees with me completely on this, totally agrees on this, that the Fed is going to save us, right? So clearly the Fed will just save us and make everything. You show me the end of Fed.
In the Fed. Hell yes. I love it.
But don't people think the government's going to save us on this one? Isn't that what people believe? And isn't that true?
Unfortunately, I think a lot of people still really do believe that. I mean, it's hard. It's a lot easier talking to people in person, I'd say. I'm the cold hard cash person. It's nice to drop an ounce of silver in somebody's hand and talk to them face to face. It's a lot harder online. You get a bigger audience, but I don't think it sinks in as well here.
Yeah, no, I get your point, right? You want to walk away from the dollar and then move to, say, silver or gold, but people get afraid of that too.
Oh yeah, I mean,
the other part, it's also harder to swap, right? In other words, if I got a gold bar, I can't say, let me get a dozen eggs for a gold bar. You got change for 10,000. I mean, that's not going to work. You know what I'm saying?
I was
It's not going to
arguing
work
with
so well.
my boyfriend. He said he found a deal online with those little fractional pieces, and the
Oh, yes.
price
I've
on
heard of
those
those.
is obnoxious. And I was like, why are you buying 10 ounces at a time? If I have to buy eggs, shit, it's the fan. I'm using silver dimes. I still might be overspending at that point, depending
You're
on
probably still overspending. The value of the silver dime is like worth a whole lot more. That's absolutely true. I completely agree with that. I agree with that. It's funny. So,
You
but
know,
then,
I want to expand on that real quick, Larry, because I want to just share one piece. I think ignorance is bliss. I think we've lived in a society that's become very comfortable with the creature comforts of standard Western finance. You know, we take for granted going to the bank, and the bank exists, right? We've become complacent with allowing them to pay us a little bit of nothing for the money that we give to them, and it's not our money anymore. Essentially, it's not. And because things have been status quo and normal, we've been fine with that. The problem
right.
is that paradigm is broken. That and people are starting to educate themselves. They're starting to understand, well, wait a minute. So you're telling me we're sending $52 billion to the Ukraine, and we're sending how much to what? And then
Yes.
what going there? So people are starting to realize, it's time to make a change. And I think we're right at that critical moment in time.
All right, I'm gonna see if I can bring in Malachi now. I think he's got his technology squared away. So let's see if I can bring him on. Malachi, are you here? Did I get Maliachi Broadwater? Did I get him? Oh, hold on, one more shot. Hold on, let me see if I can get him this time. Can I get him? Are you there?
There he is.
Yeah, I'm here.
There we go. All right, we got him. I took some time, but we got him. All good. I'm very happy that you're here with us tonight. It's awesome. So
Let's work.
you, Malachi, you are a big fan of cryptocurrency in general, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Why? You're an artist. Why are you? Why?
Like, I think the reason I've become such a fan of cryptocurrency is like the social aspect to it, the community aspect, like the networking
Oh, interesting.
aspect. So those three things have been like, it's been a good use case for me as far as like managing people and connecting people that either want to invest or be a part of a community. So like I've really like grown in all three of those departments, like via crypto, like working with specifically Solana. So that's been like a personal experience for me that's worked out really well.
But Liz, you have a similar issue, right? When you want hard currency, isn't there also a kind of like a community in the same regard, in the same thing, or no?
I would say, yeah, much smaller, much older, I would say.
Ah, okay.
I feel like, an imposter boomer. I just like I go.
So you're hanging out with the gray hairs. That's what you're hanging out with. Okay.
Silver hair.
Silver hair. I like that. Silver hair. That's good. Absolutely. But no, I think there's some valid. I mean, that's the piece, right? If we don't build a community to use the coin, if we don't build the community to use the cryptocurrency, if we don't have a community that will use it, it doesn't become valid. My worry about Bitcoin always is the same. I know people love Bitcoin. I'm not against Bitcoin at all. I own Bitcoin. But I feel like people look at Bitcoin like an investment and not like a currency, right? People don't want to like buy pizza with Bitcoin, right? They want to keep it and then hope that they could buy a house with it one day or something. Am I wrong?
I feel like it's more hoarding. Yeah.
Daniel, you're
there's
muted.
multiple aspects. I'm not really like super pro Bitcoin. I'm more of a Solana person, but I think there's use cases for different currencies and different things. I think people are interested in the aspect of being able to use cryptocurrency to buy a pizza or something small like that. Moving forward, I think it might not be Bitcoin. It might be Solana or ETH or some other coin. But like, I do think people want to be able to use that and have that as an option. If they have only crypto, they can still do day-to-day purchases, have it be Uber Eats or, PayPal, Venmo, just like simple stuff. I think all that is going to like roll out over the next couple of years, and that will definitely have like a big positive impact on the market.
Larry, everything with Bitcoin, and Malachi, could you mute while you're not talking? Because it's got a lot of Larry, pretty much everything with disruptive technology is speculatory at the beginning. So we know that's what brings people in, and microtransactions on Bitcoin with Lightning Network or whatever it is will definitely lead the way. I don't believe, as Malachi was saying, I think there will be it's kind of flavor of choice. And we call that in the Bitcoin, we call that in the crypto world interchain operability. So allowing multiple chains to work together. Solana may be good for NFTs, or it may be good for DeFi. Flux is a decentralized computational system. You've got Bitcoin, which is a settlement layer, layer 1, layer 2s. So these things are all going to work together. And how's that different from what we do today? Everything is siloed today. So it's basically proprietary, whereas almost every single one of these platforms is open source and developed by communities. And I think, as Maliachi was kind of alluding to, I think those community pieces are unbelievably important as we grow forward, because finance is not a world where communities were embraced, right?
100%.
The 1%, right? We've heard it for years, the 1%. And now we're starting to decentralize that and allow people to actually participate in a community-based level. So I think we're just getting started. And I do agree, people can be skeptical when it's something they don't necessarily understand. And a lot of times the early adopters are just not good at articulating what the hell it does. So, I think we'll get better at that on both sides.
I think I'm with you, but here's my point. I want to touch for a second the idea of money in general, because Mike Voss is watching and he puts up a valid point. He says, what is the actual value of crypto beyond the emotion? The US does have assets, even though it may be pennies to the dollar. Crypto has no assets. Now, his thought process here is, I think, a very common thought process. I think a lot of people agree with that. They go, crypto, that's just because people believe it has value. It has no value. Greenbacks, that's got value. That's what people think. I don't know. Dan, you were ready to jump out of your skin. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, that is, people constantly go to that as kind of a crutch to avoid the fact that we've got some world-changing technology here. If there was a documentary on Netflix, what was it? Better Than Bitcoin, I think it was called. And a woman standing out there, this guy, this is very early on when Bitcoin was 10, 15 bucks or something like that. And he's like, where do you buy your Bitcoin at? And she says, I don't buy Bitcoin. She goes, I put my faith in this, snap, snap. And she snaps this $1 bill. That guy is a multi-millionaire now, right? He is loaded, right? Because he had the foresight to think about what the future would hold. And that's what it comes down to. That adoption curve, Larry, goes like this, right? We're very early on in that adoption cycle. And unfortunately, the negative impact, the Sam Bankman-Frieds of the world, the FTXs of the world, they're the ones that get the attention. But in reality, we're building a juggernaut, whether it's AWS or Microsoft Azure or Google or whoever it is. This is what the blockchain is starting to go after. And we're just now starting to set out on that trip. So I think it comes back to the people who are the practitioners of the assets, right? The founders, the co-founders, so on and so forth, the community members. We've got to get better at explaining to people exactly what crypto does, what blockchain does. Because it's like when I try to explain somebody what a libertarian does, right? What a libertarian likes. It's like, well,
we just cry all the time. That's all we do. We just cry all the time. So libertarians don't always articulate ourselves the best, right? So I think that as we get better with our cadence and explaining what we can do with blockchain, because this is number one question I get everywhere I go. What does blockchain do? And when we can cascade that answer out, we're cooking. I actually, when I ran for governor in 2018, I actually spoke about blockchain and I spoke about cryptocurrency, all those things. And one of the things I brought up to people is I said, look, would it be great if, say, once you bought a house, everybody knew you bought a house. Everyone agreed. Everybody knew you bought a house. That sounds great. What if you got married and everybody knew you got married? Like everybody agreed and knew you got married. What if you bought a car? Everybody knew you bought a car and agreed you own that car. And they're like, yeah. I said, that's what blockchain does. Blockchain says everyone agrees something happened. Whatever that thing is, it happened. And we all agree that this thing happened. Now, that's how you can make things like deeds and titles and things of that sort. That's how you can say ownership. I own the NFTs are based upon that, right? I own the thing. How do I know? Everyone here says I own the thing. We all agree I own the thing. right? That's the concept of it. And when I bring that up, people tend to like that idea. They go, oh, it's like that. I said, right now, you own your house because some government bureaucrat has a piece of paper that says so. That's why you own your house, because some government bureaucrat has a piece of paper that says so. And if that government bureaucrat decides you don't own that house anymore, you don't. That's kind of how that works. But with a blockchain, everyone agrees that this is the thing that we agree upon. And when I
100%.
went to crypto to go to the idea of value, I said, when I was a kid, I used to trade comic books all the time. Big comic book fan, trade comic books. You know, my Iron Man is worth your Hulk or whatever it was, right? Back and forth. I said, was the government involved? They go, what? I said, no, government didn't care until I sold my comic book collection. Then they would care. Until they didn't care, I could swap all I wanted. Who decided if the value of the Hulk was worth the value of the Iron Man? The community did. The community decided it. If the community said no, then it wasn't worth it. If the community said yes, it was. Is that a bad thing? Should I be allowed to trade my Iron Man or my Beanie Babies or whatever is the cool thing, my Pokemon or whatever is the cool thing of the day? Shouldn't I be able to do that? And people go, yeah. I said, that's cryptocurrency. Let people trade in what they value, what they think is important, what the community agrees. And I think that makes everything fair. Am I off on this one? Malachi, jump in on this one. Malachi, jump in. Am I off on it? You do this stuff. Tell me.
Yeah, I definitely think everyone should be able to trade whatever they want as far as, you know, cryptocurrencies, collectible items, have it be digital, physical, you know, regardless. I definitely understand the flip side, though, like how people, you know, think it's controversial because, you know, you can kind of use your community, create this financial system yourself. So
yes,
there's a lot that comes with that. You know, you can take all sorts of other currencies from people and then give everyone your token where you're backing it or you're proposing the value. But I mean, to me, it almost seems like that's kind of inevitable once you do have a truly open market. That's kind of part of the system that you have to accept. And I think it'll be interesting to see like the SEC and like how far regulation can get versus how far technology can just let people, you know, do DeFi, do crypto, you know. I think people look at it and try to do it more and more, you know, at least people that are maxis, you know, they want to maximize their use. How can I use my Bitcoin more? How can I use Solana more, whatever. So I think going forward, it'll definitely continue to happen, but it'll be interesting to see what the regulation is versus what use cases people try to develop.
Yes, I get that completely. I think that the more that we use it, the more normalized it becomes. But at the same time, there's the word the scams. Daniel, you brought up FTX, right? Isn't that what makes people want to go into the hard currencies? Because they feel like I can't get scammed if I buy gold, right? I can't get scammed if I buy silver. If I got silver, I'm set, right? I can't get scammed. I can't have these crazy FTX Sam Bankman-Fried get me if I got gold. I can't do that.
I would say you can definitely get scammed buying gold and silver. You know,
okay, that too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would say it's.
I cry seeing the people show off, you know, their fake coins from China. You know, the lead cores and everything. And you definitely, you know, if you don't own it unless you hold it, but you also gotta verify that it's real, and scan it, weigh it, and all that fun stuff. I'm worried about the regulation part of crypto. I have my other concerns, but you know, as it becomes more widely adopted and you see the scams and everything, and you see they're already blaming it like only criminals use crypto, the black market.
Right. Yes.
As if Hunter Biden was snorting blow with cryptocurrency and silver instead of dollar bills.
Right.
But yeah, I'm
Hunter Biden, he spun his Bitcoin around and got a snort off of that.
Yeah.
On the laptop. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
that's a good point.
Unfortunately, Larry, we always have to see these situations with emerging technology because there's always nefarious people that want to do it the easy way. So instead of building the technology or creating the on-ramps, off-ramps, the roadmaps to the tech, they would rather try to scam people or screw people over. And I mean, let's face it, Gary Gensler sat with Sam Bankman-Fried 5 times before he was busted, right? So, I mean, there was something deeper than what we're even seeing here. I mean, who was the #1 donor to the Democratic Party?
Yep. The man himself.
right? So
the man himself.
So, I mean, there's deep plays there, and and you can tie that to anything, but I mean, you see more challenges. I mean, Pablo Escobar had skids of cash buried in a field that he couldn't
That's
even
right.
find, right? So
Yes.
fiat, if you want to talk fiat, and Malachi brought up the regulatory pieces of it. I think good regulation in the States will definitely help crypto to continue to flourish.
Boo!
Wait. Let me finish. But it's a false sense of security because blockchain as itself cannot be regulated. So if they came out, Joe Biden, guys are out there looking at Bitcoin right now and says, we want to know where every mining farm is in the United States. Emergency Act just came through like 3 days ago, right? How are you going to stop it? It'll just move. It'll shift. It'll become more decentralized, and you're not going to stop it. And so these ETFs that they're approving.
Let me touch this piece, though, that bothers me. This is my fear. And this is my fear. And why I am kind of an absolutist on this. I'm really hard on this. And the example I'll give is going to be an odd example. It's the vaping industry. Now, I'm not a vapor, but I think people should be able to vape if they want to vape. I don't care.
Absolutely.
You want to vape? You go ahead and vape.
100%.
I don't vape myself. I have no problems. In New York, I was telling the vapors, I said, don't you dare try to help the government regulate you. Fight every single way, accept nothing. Fight at every piece. Make it to where it's not worth fighting you. Fight on everything. Beat Churchill, fight him in the beaches, fight him in the streets, everything. And they were like, no, we're going to work with the government to get good, fair regulation. And New York State regulated them right out of business. Literally out of business. And when it comes to crypto, I am like, fight on every single thing. Give them nothing. That's why I got upset.
No, it comes to an education piece. And I wasn't saying it's something that I wanted, but I'm saying in the eyes of an investor feels like there has to be regulatory on-ramps, right? Yeah. So these ETFs that they recently released for Bitcoin, it's like the second or third largest ETF out there now.
Yes.
Close to gold. I think we passed silver, right? So there's a ton of value in that, and people start to have the ability to invest in those things. But I agree with you 100%. I think that the one thing that they're going to find out is Bitcoin is just the start. The financial industry was an industry that it wasn't looking for a solution, right? They didn't want people to disrupt that market. So you look at something like what Flux does with decentralized compute. We're taking down the AWSs, we're taking down the Googles, we're taking down the Facebooks. We're putting the hands back in the power back in the hands.
Okay, hold on. I want to ask about this. This is the part that I want to ask about here. Are you telling me that you're setting up a system to where you can't just be canceled?
Not only that, Larry, it's already here. So it's been here for the better part of 6 years. So
I got to put all my stuff now on Flux? Is what you're telling me?
So uncensorable, front ends, back ends, game servers, you name it. You could deploy social. We have many different social media pieces. You name it. AI runs on Flux. This is all here today. And by the way, this has caught the attention of a lot of folks recently, and I've been invited down to DC to talk about it as well.
Or to be arrested, one or the other.
One or the other. We'll see what happens.
Exactly. Yes.
Told the wife, don't hold dinner for me that day.
Exactly. Yes. Or to be arrested. Guys, let me talk to the audience for a second, guys. If you're in the audience, do me a favor. If you like this, click the like button. If you don't click the like button, that means you don't like me, and now I'm mad at you. So click the damn like button. It matters. I need it. It's important. Please click it. But also, if you're watching on Twitter, please retweet this. Right? Retweet it. It does matter if you are. It does matter. If you want your chat to go to the front, you can super chat me if you want to. If you're watching on YouTube, all good. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe if you haven't yet. Because if you're not, that means you're a cheater. Don't cheat. You're a cheater if you're not subscribing and you're watching this cool content. Don't be a cheater. But more important, please follow these amazing people who are giving us time in their evening. Please follow Daniel at DAK_Flux. Please follow Lyss at Liberty Lyss. And please follow Maliachi at Broadwater MGMT, all on Twitter /X to see what they're doing and to follow them. Please do that right now. That would help us all tremendously. So, Daniel, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm going to cut you off to make sure I
No, that's okay. But I think we're just, Larry, I think we're just getting started. This is the precursor to what will change the entire technology. paradigm that we're used to today. So, I mean, a lot of people call it Web 2. So you had Web 1, which was like the AOLs, the read, right?
Yes.
And then you had Web 2 was like read write. So social media, you know, the Twitters, the Facebooks, and so on and so forth. And then you got Web 3. And Web 3 is read, write, and own. And we're starting to get to a point
Is what? Say it again.
Read, write, and own. So you
Read,
own your
write,
own data.
own. Okay.
Yes. So you own your own data. So instead of the evil Borg of Google and Microsoft, you know, extrapolate. I worked in healthcare for the better part of 20 some years, and I had to leave because one of the major healthcare organizations I worked for partnered with Google to extrapolate all the healthcare information and plug that in. So not only do they know where you shop, what you do, where you go, they know your healthcare issues, they know your problems.
Yep.
It's terrifying. So
got it.
And I'm pretty certain that is all going to be tied to the government issued CBDC soon. And that's like complete opposite of what we want in a blockchain. It
Amen.
scares me. For anybody who watches that, it gives me those vibes, and you know it's coming. There's going to be people just begging for it. And
this is my biggest worry you just brought up. This is my biggest worry. Daniel, you're right. There's no way they can regulate it, which means what will they do? Target people for arrest. They're going to say, yes, that Maliachi guy, he looked like he's making some money. Let's go check him out. Then they're going to go check him out, see that he got a digital wallet. Oh, that's not the approved criminal, cryptocurrency. You're now a criminal. So now they're going to arrest him because he didn't have the approved cryptocurrency, whatever they decided they approved. And I think it's going to be almost like a prohibition, another war on drugs, right? It'll be like a war on crypto. And they're going to go around trying to find the wrong crypto, and wrong is just the ones that they decided they don't want. That's going to be the wrong. So we better hope it's Bitcoin, I guess.
Larry, I'm going to give you nightmares. Think about this. What have we left in about 21 illegal immigrants here recently? Roughly 21 million. And they're saying 5,000 a day, another 1.2 million over the next, year or so. So what if they tied their benefits, which they're doing, right? So New York's doing it right now, $56 million that they're deploying.
53 million.
53, yeah. So what if they tie those benefits to a CBDC, and now you've got 20 million plus people that are already using a CBDC out of the gate? Then they start moving your social programs over, your welfare programs, food stamps, whatever it is. So I think they come at it as it's a cost-saving maneuver, that we're not going to get rid of the dollar. We're not going to get rid of, and then all of a sudden the natural transition is you don't have a choice. And I mean, you look at the social credit scores in China and what they're doing there. I mean, they've laid the roadmap for it.
100%. They're going to, without question, all of a sudden it's going to be like your Social Security. Don't worry, you get it in the digital dollar. It's the same. Don't worry. It's a digital. You can't tell the difference. It's the same thing. And then they just that's how they reboot the dollar. And we all of a sudden go from 37 trillion or whatever we are right now, 35 now, whatever the trillions are. So for the sake of argument, 36 trillion. We're going to go from $36 trillion in debt to no debt. How? Because magic.
The biggest rug pull of all time.
That's correct. And then some other country is going to say, wait a minute, we don't want the dollar to be worth this. And we're going to have our gun out and go, what did you say? And they're going to go, nothing. I didn't say nothing. That's what I thought. Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're right on.
But does this worry you, right? And maybe it shouldn't. It's a little bit off. But the BRICS. I don't know if you know this, Lyss, but the BRICS are doing something interesting. The BRICS are creating a kind of fiat money, but not fiat money, but fiat money.
Like their alternative, the gold-backed one?
That's correct. Yes, they're making a brick, which is like $1. It's not backed by gold, but it's tied to gold. So I don't know. Where do you is this worse or better? I can't tell.
I'd say it's a step in the right direction, but they're not, the most friendly people to us. And what you guys were talking about, demonizing, the cryptocurrency holders. In the past, all I could think of was FDR and his gold confiscation act.
That's right.
Oh, don't even get me started on FDR.
in the finger, but yeah, I mean, they've done it before. They will try and do it again, whether it's crypto and cold storage, or I mean, even your gold, your jewels, they're not safe in security deposit boxes anymore. You guys hear about the FBI raid? They took the gold.
That's right.
for the watches, and what is it? Civil asset forfeiture.
Civil asset forfeiture. Yep.
They'll charge your property with a crime, and even if you're not, convicted or charged with any crime, that your property is still in their possession for eternity.
But you made a very important point. This is a thing. I'm glad you brought this up. Most people don't know this. The reason why civil asset forfeiture is so bad is officially, this is going to sound dumb, but she's right. They don't charge you with a crime because you have rights. They charge your property with the crime. I'm not joking. This way it has no rights.
Or a bar.
They just take it. Yes, they just take it. They go, your bar of gold is a criminal. We're taking it. And we go, but I didn't do anything. You don't have to. Your bar of gold is a criminal. We're taking your bar of gold. Yeah, and they literally do that. Yes.
We're going to see more and more of anybody, whether it's, gold, silver, crypto, or a combination of the two, anybody outside who is trying to ditch that dollar. Any nation that has ditched the dollar and gone to a gold-backed currency over the past few years has not ended well.
Yes.
Bernard von Ahn, the Liberty dollar, that did not end well for him.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's my little carry piece here, the original and the
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
I don't know if I'm just a paranoid anarchist libertarian. I hear it in the news, but you hear about the crypto scams and people working under the table, right? Whether it's for cash and they demonize that, you're not paying taxes, or gold and silver, barter even. But I just keep hearing more and more in the news about these horrifying things. They bought this gun with this crypto. They bought a 3D printer with this. We can't control it. We're scared. And even, in Buffalo, I went through the not the manifesto, but the report on that. And they made sure to point out that the Buffalo shooter bought some of his stuff with silver coins. And I saw the paperwork, and I was like, that's a really strange thing to point out, because the rest of the stuff he bought was with U.S. fiat dollar bills, debt notes.
Of course.
But they won't say anything about that.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. That's without, when it comes to the black market and people doing bad things, the number one currency used is the US dollar. It's not even close. By magnitudes.
Not even close. Yeah.
By magnitudes. It is absolutely the worst one being used. But they go, see, he used a silver coin, a silver coin. Clearly, he's insane. So that's yes, clearly.
Well, what they try to do is demonize you because you have a different idea of what the monetary system should look like than the one that they've packaged and sold to you, which is really a pile of what. Larry, I want to jump back to the BRICS real quick because I think I have probably some different insight on that. I think the BRICS, I mean, the U.S. has kind of screwed themselves. I mean, I think everybody in the world knows we're just going to keep printing money. I mean, it's not even a secret anymore. Like it's basically a free for all. Whether you are on the Democratic side, the Republican side, it's just who can get more money and how and when, right? So I think the BRICS is the first. I don't necessarily know the BRICS will be successful because I think Saudi Arabia just joined the BRICS here recently, which was a big hit for the U.S. I mean,
100%.
The petrodollar is dead.
Yep.
It is dead, right? So maybe that doesn't hurt us, but I think it does because that's what we've basically controlled, everything with.
But hold on, let me touch this for a second. I think this actually is good for crypto. Right? As we weaponize the dollar. Yeah, we weaponize the dollar stupidly. We weaponize the dollar across the world because the damn Ukraine war. We decided to weaponize the dollar. And now it's like, well, now what are we going to do? So more people are looking at digital currencies in general, right?
Yep.
And not just government. Obviously, China's going with the government. But, I go back to what Maliachi said. The community piece is going to matter, right? What happens when you're at war, or what happens when your government's collapsing, or what happens when things are bad, and you got to figure out what are we going to trade with. We got to buy stuff. We got to survive in our town, in our community, in our country, whatever. What are you going to do? You could use Bitcoin maybe, but what happens if you don't have Bitcoin or whatever? You might decide on your own local currency. You might do that. And now with places like Flux and other places, you could create your own way of going back and forth. You could do all of those. I think we lost Maliachi, but. In any case, you could actually do that. I think what you said is true, and I think it's in the long run good for cryptocurrency. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right on the money, and I think honestly, I think you'll see more adoption. I mean, why was the ETF pushed so hard? I mean, it was Gary Gensler and the SEC hates hates crypto, right? With a vengeance, right? They had no choice but to approve those ETFs because there's people that want out. So they want exposure, however that is. If I've got $1 million sitting on the sideline and I can put that into an ETF where I'm exposed to BTC without having to custody myself, by the way, I wouldn't do that. Not your keys, not your crypto. But it does give them an alternative. And I think that we understand that that's coming. And if you get a quality, well, I don't necessarily think good quality would be the word, right? If you get a good candidate in the next go round for the presidential election, I think you'll see people. You got, RFK Jr. who has embraced it. Vivek was pushing it hardcore. You've got, even Trump. I think Trump minted some NFTs with Melania. So I think he's not totally anti-crypto, but he's probably not digging it because he loves the mighty greenbacks, right?
Trump wants anything with cash. If that gets him cash, he's in. It doesn't matter. He's whatever gets him cash, he's in.
He has a gold toilet.
He does have a gold toilet. It's true. He'll buy a good. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I think we're in the beginning throes of that mass exodus. I really think we are, and I do think it's going to continue. We've seen the way people are actually starting to wake up to the fact when you see random people who are diehard Democrats all of a sudden come out and say, "Look, we've got a problem here because this is getting out of control." But it's on both sides of the fence, and there is a solution. If you take the monetary system and even partially put it in the hands of the people, your war machines stop, right? They're not going to be as, maybe not, completely, and you always have to have some level of defense, for your country. But, these pointless proxy wars that we get in all the time, they become less and less.
Because we can't afford them.
Right? 100%.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it's my favorite.
And you can't take money from me to pay for it. Sorry to cut you off.
Right.
But you can't take money from me and everyone else to pay for it without our permission, right? I mean, what was the punishment for counterfeiting in the when the country was founded? Was death, right? They didn't mess around, man. They looked at it as treason. And now all of a sudden, with the Fed can just go like, we're just going to print a shit ton of money. We're going to bail out our banks and do whatever we want. And guess who gets to hold that bill? You do. So,
Liz,
it won't
this
be
one's
us.
for you, Liz.
Children's children, down the line. I know Ron Paul has the quote, "It's no coincidence the century of total war coincided with the century of central banking." Because you can't have wars without infinite fiat. And my little silver plug is I heard a rumor that every Tomahawk missile that we send, gold is recycled. You get your phones, you buy them back at the not the grocery store, the malls and everything. They want to strip the gold out of all the components. It's in electronics. Right. Silver is definitely in electronics. But bombs, like the nuclear missiles, they need silver and magnets. It's insane. I think the Tomahawk, it hasn't been confirmed, but it's been rumored that it has almost 500 kilos, if I'm not mistaken, like 490 ounces. Let me double check this on here. But
that's a lot of kilos. That's a lot.
Let me see. They're big missiles. Let me see. I got, about 480 ounces. So 480 ounces, almost 500 ounces silver. And that's not recyclable. It's a consumable. You blow it up in the stratosphere, it's scattered. You're not getting that back. I know a lot of the gold is out in the ocean. I hear, you can't really filter.
No, without question, the biggest polluter, the biggest waster, the biggest everything is the U.S. military-industrial complex. Yes. Not even close. You're absolutely true.
I know the Silver Institute, I think, came out with a paper on that they are sneakily the biggest consumer of silver. It's not bullion. It's not jewelry. It's not even solar or electronics. I know vaccines use them even. The medical industry does too.
Wow.
But I believe the hidden numbers, I think they stopped reporting in 1996 and they just stopped reporting on how much they had or were using. It's a weird timing like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
I remember his comment from Dave. He says he used silver and or gold. Obviously, he's racist. Of course.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%. Obviously, he's racist. There's no doubt he has to be that. There's no other way around that. They got to make the person look or feel bad. But I do want to ask one more piece if I could. I want to go back to the idea of regulation. I think we should fight as much as possible. And my example is, again, I'm not joking when I use this example. So why I use this example? is the example of baseball cards, comic books, Pokemon cards, Beanie Babies, whatever it is. There is no government regulation on these things, except the obvious one, no fraud, right? Fraud is always a crime, right? If I tell you this is an actual Iron Man #1, it needs to be an Iron Man #1. If it isn't, that's a crime, right? Because that's fraud. So I feel like this is the issue. We want to make as little as possible and fight the whole way through. I know a lot of people disagree with me, and they think we want to have the equivalent of an SEC or the equivalent of something like that, and then that'll make it better. But Jeff is on my side. Jeff says, give him an inch, they'll take 50 miles. I'm with Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Am I wrong?
No, you're completely right. I mean, we haven't seen, what are the most horrible words in the world? I'm from the government. I'm here to help. There is very little that they come in that they actually get right, and unlike other industries, crypto is a little bit different because of the decentralization aspect of it. It isn't just about the U.S. because we kind of always gravitate to what the regulations are in the U.S. because they're kind of the leader, right? That paradigm is shifting right now as we've seen it. We just talked about many ways that we're losing that, that luster. So I can tell you, Flux, we were a U.S.-based company. We packed up out of the U.S. We moved to the U.K. We did it because the regulatory uncertainty, they were just not inclusive, and there was no way to fight around it, right? So, we had to
know that. Hold on. I want to ask you, you're telling me the U.K. is actually better than the U.S.?
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Hey, anywhere other than the U.S. is fairly friendly. Hell, even China is now to a certain extent. So, we've really seen, and I agree with you, Larry, 100%. If you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. But we need to be very educated with the way that we're relaying these things, looking at getting people involved. I mean, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but there's a lot of people that own crypto in the United States. I mean, all my kids own crypto, not because I'm a crypto evangelist, but because they understand that it is sound money, and that's something that's a rarity.
My oldest daughter owns, but she does it because she thinks it's cool. That's the reason why. But I regret. I got to tell you, I was actually being a libertarian. I was actually in the world when people would tell me, Larry, you got to buy Bitcoin. I thought, Bitcoin, what is that? It was like $200 for a Bitcoin, and I was like, whatever. Who cares? Boy, do I regret that. Boy, do I regret that. They're like, yeah, I remember. And so my friend's like, yeah, I got rid of my Bitcoin at like $500. I made a ton of money. I'm like, wow. So yes. So just interesting pieces there. Guys,
well, you need to fall down the Flux rabbit hole, Larry. I think we lost everybody but us.
We did it. It's just me and you right now, but that's fine. I'm going to talk to the audience real fast. Guys, if you like this conversation, I'm telling you again, please click that like button. If you're watching on Twitter, please retweet it. If you're watching on any of them, please subscribe. It does matter. Every bit matters. You can super chat me if you happen to be on YouTube. Absolutely. And if you want to hook me up on YouTube, you can support the show directly by becoming a member. Click join. It's $4.99 per month, and you can get all this good stuff. And you can support me because you love me. And I can spend more time doing this and less time doing my usual work, which keeps me away from doing this. Do that if you like. It's all good. I don't mind myself. And of course, please support the people who've been here. Support, if you would, support Daniel, if you would. Head over to Twitter, follow him. And all his information is actually in the description, the show description in both YouTube and Facebook. DAK_Flux, FLUX. You can support Lyss at Liberty_Lyss. And you can also support Maliachi at Broadwater MGMT. And we have Lyss back. How are you? You're back.
Yeah, it froze all of a sudden. I noticed you guys weren't moving. I could hear you, and I was refreshing. So sorry, I got your plug though.
Yeah, all good. I'm just glad that you are back. So yeah. So I guess where I'm going with this piece is I want to move now, if I could, to not just cryptocurrency, but to the blockchain itself. Now, the reason why I bring this up is I remember when I first got involved, I thought they were the same. Like, I didn't know. When I heard blockchain, I thought blockchain was literally synonymous with Bitcoin. And then someone would say, no, dude, it's like they're not the same at all. I say that because I think a lot of Americans are still where I was years ago. Right? If I go back probably about 10 years ago, I'm going to guess that'd be 2014. maybe in that area, 2012, 2014, I was like, oh, Bitcoin is blockchain. That's kind of where I was, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think many Americans are still there. They haven't left. How do we get people to understand the blockchain is more than just currency?
Building products that actually do something. And we're in it. There's a lot of them out there that are doing it right now. The crypto world has this weird thing where they use these buzzwords, whether it's a blockchain or crypto or DeFi or NFTs or fintech or whatever it is. They use these buzzwords, and it does confuse people. What you really get down to brass tacks with blockchain is it's an immutable ledger, right? So it is a database on steroids essentially, and you can do anything with that. But you need to start getting beyond like MVPs, like minimal viable projects, and you need to actually showcase the technology. And that's why, with Flux, we spent 6 years building this thing. You know what I mean? It is a technology framework.
So let me dig in a little bit on this one, because this is
Okay.
you have piqued my curiosity when you mentioned AWS. For those you don't know, AWS is basically what people are using to put a lot of their work on, right?
Yep.
Tell me how you built that. What's the difference? Help me out with that one.
So AWS is cloud services. So, I mean, the majority of the internet, of everything that you do in technology runs on some form of cloud service, right? Whether it's AWS, Microsoft, Google, whatever. And they're all central points of control. And we've seen, especially with with what happened with Elon Musk and X and the Twitter files and so on and so forth, they're highly regulated, highly integrated. And I would say they're probably another branch at this point of our legislation. You know what I mean? Like they're really putting.
So let me ask the critical question, Daniel. What happens when President whomever says, Daniel, I want all the information on all the people on your Flux thing. You got to give me all the data and whatever. What happens when they order you to give all the data? What happens then?
I tell them tough shit. I don't control it. You could put me in jail, and this thing runs for the rest of our lives and then some. We methodically built something that couldn't have one sector that could be attacked, right? So we were very methodical with looking at how to build this out. We have 13,000 decentralized nodes all over the world. They're run by normal everyday systems administrators, right? So people that deploy their infrastructure. It's completely embedded into the blockchain. So once you've deployed your application, whether it's your website, your game server, whatever it is, it's there. Now that brings up a whole other set of conversations, because that's going to freak people out, especially the government, because they're saying, so you're telling me you can deploy anything and it can't be controlled? That's 100% what I'm telling you. This is what we built this for. Freedom for the people. We don't want people. Look at what happened to Parler. All of a sudden, AWS doesn't like what they're saying and will turn you off. Can't do that with Flux. There's no central point of attack, no attack vector where you can go and say, we're going to get you. So whether they take the founders out or they take the teams out, it isn't going to matter. Open source for everyone.
They would somehow have to go get 13,000 random people and then hope that no one else joined the team.
Don't tempt
them. That's right. But the community, it's all community based.
She's like, don't tempt them, they might try.
It's the IRS agents. They've been arming them for a while now.
And the thing about it is we all have to be very conscious of building products like this and building your projects on things like this, right? So, we want to get to the point where Flux is just a natural. Everybody who loves liberty, everybody who loves technology gravitates toward Flux because it can't be controlled. It is for the people, by the people. And we did that very methodically, because here's the other thing. The big buzzword is AI. Everybody's AI now, right? AI. So what was all of a sudden the SEC dropped cryptocurrency immediately and started talking about regulation on AI. Why is that? Because they want to control the input models. The input models will control the output models. So their narrative, how they build it up, is going to be what comes out the other side. So we had to build an infrastructure that counters that. A open source based platform where people will get unfettered, completely unaltered data that they can then go through themselves and they can parse out and make their own decisions. So it is different.
Andrea says the IRS is the largest debt collector in the world. She's not wrong.
You're not wrong.
She's not wrong. Absolutely.
Nothing's more terrifying than seeing anything.
I think I have Malachi back. Malachi, are you back? Okay, Malachi's back. All right. I don't know if you can hear us, but he's back.
I had a question for Daniel, if you don't mind.
Go, please.
For boomers or like Luddites like me that just hate the idea of having something digital and not tangible in my hands, how do you educate people? What, like, do you have success giving monologues and in-depth, descriptions? Are you part of the meme team online, just making fun of the Federal Reserve, which seems to be, the thing that gets most of my people going? But how do you talk to an average person, especially if it isn't widely adopted yet? Like,
let me pile on Daniel a little bit. This is the pile on Daniel moment. Let me pile on you for a little bit, Daniel. I'm also on board with that concept because a lot of people, they're accustomed to having the piece of paper. They're accustomed to having the thing. Or even just the card. I mean, we moved to even just credit cards or physical bank. Like, how do we make that? Do we make that? How do we do that? There we go. Okay, I'm done piling on you. Go ahead.
I think our generation, this generation right here, and then I'm a little bit older than probably me and Larry are probably pretty close, and then we got the youngins on here, but our generation will be the last generation that really worries about that physical asset piece because they've come up in an environment where their money has been digital from day one. So, I mean, my kids don't carry cash. They don't even, they could, they still get my cash, but that's besides that, the bank of dad. But, they're very highly intertwined with the internet, highly intertwined in social media. It just makes sense that it's a social money, right? You got your communities, you got your input models, right? So that explanation, that early adopter cycle, kind of moving into the early adopters and then start into your laggards. It's an easy explanation because it's all they've ever known. We are different because we were born where cash kind of was king, right? You had, you mowed grass and you got $5. You were like, wow, I'm rich. I can't wait.
Yep.
That becomes almost irrelevant to the next generations. And by the way, cascading this message is very simple because people are terrified of big data. And I don't care who you are, where you are, what you're doing, whether you're libertarian, whether you're liberal, whether you're a Republican, whatever it is, right? You start talking about big data controlling everything you do. I mean, my wife gets terrified because she talks about something around the house. Like, I got to get a new set of dish towels. And the next thing you know, hey, you want to buy some dish towels? Yeah, we really don't need them in every single area of our lives. So I think that it's a natural transition for them. And it doesn't become like this super disruptive thing because we've spent the better part of, let's say 15 years building the on-ramps that just make it simplistic. So my wife,
I'm with you on that. Like I look at my own daughter who now is almost 20. And even now when I give her money, she's like, hey, Dad, can you Venmo it?
Yeah.
Like she's not she doesn't want the cash, right? She wants the Venmo, right? That's what she wants. Right. So I'm Venmoing my daughter money. Right. And it's I wasn't that way before, but yeah, I get it.
I think that scares me because I feel like part of the reason we're in this debt crisis right now is because we've become so far removed from the idea of money. Cold, tangible.
Interesting point.
I didn't have a credit card growing up. I was late adoption to that too. But I think lots of people, when they don't have cash in hand, let alone, coinage in hand, they don't register it as real money. It's numbers, it's digital, it's out of sight, it's out of mind.
No, I agree with you completely.
And I have my beautiful Ben. Are you familiar with the Fujio cent from Ben Franklin? His first.
No, I don't know that one. No.
Yeah, I believe this is one of my favorite designs. Is this Fujio cent? This is a 2 ounce, nice. But it had the 13 rings on the back, and his motto was "Mind your business." And it was a physical, I believe it was more of the size of a penny at the time. But if you don't hold it in your hand, it's out of sight, it's out of mind. You're spending it like nothing. Your debt is imaginary.
This is a point that there's a joke online called girl math. Have you heard about that joke?
It's very real.
Yes. And the idea of girl math is the idea, well, if I didn't really buy it or if I gave it back, somehow I made my, like that kind of thing.
Money, yeah.
And I think that idea is kind of a similar idea that you talk about. If I didn't give the cash, then I didn't really spend it, right? So therefore it's okay. And I think what we're finding now, I think you're right. That you've hit a point here, Liz, is that we have a lot of debt now as Americans. We've had it for a long time. And it isn't only because the economy's bad or we want to buy more stuff. That's part of it, obviously. But it's also because, to your point, we feel like we can just keep swiping and tapping and keep swiping and tapping, and it's fine. We'll see some kind of bill later, whatever.
Yeah,
Larry, define what is a long time. Because in the 50s, it wasn't a debt-based society. In the 60s, it wasn't a debt-based society. In the 70s, it wasn't a debt-based society. In the 80s, it wasn't a debt-based. In 90s, you started to see it come on. 2000s really kind of where it started to take off. And let's face it, that is manufactured by us today, right? That is something that we have had. If you have credit cards, you use them. It's been a ploy to get people high interest rates, get them locked in. It's a debt-based society. That's a new paradigm. You look back at let's go back to the Yappy stones, right? The Yappy stones were these massive stones, and if you haven't ever checked this out, check them out, right? They were currency, and they could be at the bottom of the ocean. They could be in your backyard. They could be at another guy's place, and you would trade those Yappy stones with other people. So I would say, I want to buy a house. I have this Yappy stone. You don't move it. It stays there, but it's your possession. So they placed it. It didn't matter where it was at. It was yours, right? And that's really honestly what we're looking is we're getting the shift away from this debt-based economy, and it's going to be by necessity. Let's face it, the market's going to take a crap, and there is going to be like this paramount moment where we have to make a change, and that's what we're going to get. So I think the next version could be like this, almost like the Yappy stones. It could be anywhere at any time, and you can tap into it.
I feel like there was a book years ago by I think it was by Robert Silverberg, and he was talking. It was a book from like maybe the 70s or 80s. He wrote it. I forgot the name of it. I think was it Hot Sun at Midnight? I forgot, something like that. One of those books he wrote. And in his future, that he believed that people wouldn't actually have money; they would have privileges that they would gain from being some type of person within society. So if you were a level 11 person, you were able to do the things that a level 11 person could do. That's it. You didn't pay for anything. You had a thing
World of Warcraft.
Yes, you didn't pay for anything. You just had a thing on your arm, which made you. I'm a level 11 or whatever my level is. So I get to go to the cool restaurant, eat what I want, or I get to go to the car, whatever. And I could see something like that maybe even happening. Oh, you're the cool guy, or you get this because you're level this or level that. I could see something like that being what people want. And Legacy Zach, of course, jumps in and says, sounds like communism. It does, doesn't it, Zach?
100%,
it does.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying what the guy wrote. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm saying,
100%.
I could definitely see that. So, but Alex says, wasn't it 1972 that we became a debt-based society? Gold standard went by, and suddenly we could print the value out of nowhere.
I would
think
agree
that
with
was
that.
a part of it, but we deregulated banking to where savings and loans were putting out credit cards left and right. Once that happened, they pushed credit cards, and they stopped. They ended that.
I think the scary thing that happened recently that most people have no idea, even, it was during COVID, of course, by design, but on March.
Not during COVID, during the lockdowns.
Lockdowns, yes. The response to
during
COVID.
The lockdowns. Correct, yes.
March 15th, 2020. Does that sound familiar? Stick out to anybody?
No.
I believe the reserve requirements dropped to $0.
Oh,
your banks
that's
are
right.
no longer required to have any zero reserves. A lady flashing her dollar saying, I have faith in this,
Yeah.
Your banks don't even have to carry cash anymore. And when people hear
Right.
that, they're like, oh, that's not true. I'll bring it up on my phone right now. And then that's sort of like the light bulb moment with, oh, cash isn't king anymore. Cash really is just
Right.
print. And what? And then my favorite question, what are we paying taxes for if they can just print
If we
more
just print
money?
money.
Yeah.
And that's sort of coming from both sides right now.
Yeah.
One side, nobody wants to pay for bombs across the world. And they're like, all of a sudden, even, my Democratic friends, people I know who immigrated here legally with an L, they're just saying, why are these people getting blank checks as soon as they cross the border?
Yep.
I mean, I'm all for all sorts of people and immigration, all that, but where's the money coming from? And I'm like, bingo, it's just print.
Yes.
I think
grandchildren, great grandchildren's grandchildren, but yeah.
Listen, I think you're right on the money, and I think it's an optical illusion, because if they just printed for whatever they wanted, we would feel pissed that they were doing it. We're still upset. We, the people, still are upset. But at least when you put a line item to it and make it look like it's something tangible, so like we've got money going to the Ukraine, we've got money going to Israel, we've got money going to all this different stuff. They say, well, we need these things, right?
Right.
So they at least put some kind of like line item so that people are like, do we really need that? They could argue about the dynamics of that, but in reality, they were going to do it anyway, right? So they're going to do it anyway.
Comes out and tells
we need to bomb people. I can't sleep well if we're not bombing people. So we got to make sure we bomb some people. Otherwise, how am I going to sleep? So let's make sure we're bombing people. That's all I'm saying.
We need Kid Rock playing in the background while you say that.
Yes. And the browner, the better, right? The more brown they are, the more I feel good about bombing them. So let's bomb some brown people. That's all I care about. Yes.
Was that in Obama's Nobel Peace Prize speech?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Look, I got to give Obama tons of credit in this one. He's the only guy who actually won a Nobel Peace Prize while bombing 6 countries. That's impressive.
I mean, unreal. I
mean, that's impressive. I'm just saying. Got to give him that one. That's good. Let me grab a couple comments if I could. The Great Pep asks you a question specific, Daniel. He says, how long can flux, he's spelling, yes, that is how it's F-L-U-X is correct, last on backup power if there's no electricity for weak scenario? So there's a doomsday scenario. There's, whatever. There's a power outage or whatever. How does that affect flux?
Well, flux is a global project. If all of flux is down, we've got bigger problems. The world doesn't exist anymore, because it's not any one particular region. It's spread out across the entire world. And if you look at where our deployments are, it covers the entire map. I think we're in darn near every country, and so that's the thing that makes it solid and redundant. And that was the one thing we really had to look at when we built this platform out. Is it had to be scalable, it had to be seamless, but it had to be redundant. So if something happened, an EMP happened in the States, that your data wasn't gone, right? Because you're running on nodes that are in Mexico or in Asia or in Europe, hopefully not in the Ukraine, right? So it's highly redundant and highly available. So there isn't a scenario that I could see other than the end of the world where you wouldn't be running the infrastructure to keep your data running.
When that happens, I'm moving in with Lyss because she got all the gold. I'm coming with her.
No, I don't have nothing on hand.
Lost it all in a boating accident.
Niagara Falls is real close, but
we're all moving in with her. I hope you got a big house. You're getting a lot of friends all of a sudden. We're all going to be your besties. That's it.
I like to explore the shit hit the fan scenario because there's a huge overlap, believe it or not, between the silver and gold hoarders and the preppers. They go.
Yes, I'm aware. That's why I was teasing you.
And there's always a saying, you can't eat your silver and gold, which is true. The same like you said, if an EMP or a Chinese spy balloon comes again, we've got bigger problems. We're not going to be trading our gold coins and stuff like that. We're going to need food, water, probably brass, ammo, and all that fun stuff first. But I think it's a good question. If you said you can't outlaw crypto, you can't really control it, but if all of a sudden, your exchanges go down, most people don't have their own storage. They can't, hold it and own it the same way you can, gold and silver or even, small fractional stuff like that. I like to explore that idea of if it really went down and, you had your food and water and everything, you could take your silver and gold and you can go across any border in the world. For thousands of years, I think right now Venezuela, they're shaving off little pieces of gold, like shaving it with a razor blade.
And it
holds up. It holds up to time. It
goes back to Rome. Rome did that as well.
The ridges, right?
Well, it's funny though. This is for you, Liz. He says, "Gold." Great Paper says, "Gold is BS. Lead and silver can be made into musket balls." He does have a point.
He's not wrong, and I'll expand on what you're saying too, because I don't think good preparation means diversifying your arsenal. Whether I got a ton of guns and a ton of ammo, right? I'm ready for all that, and you should be prepping for those things as well. And I think you should diversify your portfolios. You should have gold, you should have silver, you should have Bitcoin, you should have flux, you should have a little bit of everything, because you're right, you can't eat your gold and silver, right? And it depending on what the situation is, you definitely need to have a little bit of everything on hand, I think.
I think lots of people have different expectations as well. They've been saying silvers should be way higher. It's suppressed, but it's going to hit $50 an ounce any day now. Any day now, it's going to crash. Any day now, it's going to the moon. And I feel like after seeing, I made some money in Dogecoin.
Oh, yeah. I knew friends who did too. I knew friends who did.
I did not get into Dogecoin with the expectation of a generational wealth, I will say. But I did flip it for some silver bars, and it did me well. But, gold and silver is sort of long run. This is something that ideally you should be passing on through the generations. You shouldn't have to spend it or expect to, And I guess that is sort of our downfall, where it's not as easily spendable and it's not instant. You're not mailing coins across the world, like crypto. But what do you think about, crypto and gold and silver sort of tied together, those backed assets?
I have seen those before, like a cryptocurrency that's tied to something. That's how I saw the brick.
Yes.
Right. I saw the brick from the BRICS countries as a digital currency that was going to be tied to, in this case, gold or something else.
But Larry, who controls the gold? Is your gold really there? What's the U.S. say? We got 500 billion or so.
I don't think we have any gold. I think we've been lying for years. I think we got nothing.
If you build a blockchain, or you build something that's supposed to be uncensorable, and then you drop on top of it a controlled asset. So what happens if Elon starts mining Mars and bringing down truckloads of gold? Is your gold worth anything then? Right? The only thing that's hard, true money is uncensorable blockchain technology that cannot be inflated, cannot be manipulated, cannot be misconstrued or whatever. It is rock solid, and that has to be a proof of work projects, and none of these proof of stake shit coins that are out there. And sorry,
Maliachi, no. Go ahead. Tell me the difference between those two. No one's gonna know what that means. Tell the difference between those two.
Proof of work is what Bitcoin is. So for me to mine a Bitcoin, I have to spend my time, I have to spend my energy, I have to buy infrastructure, I have to rent a facility, I have to control the heat, I have to pay the bills, I have to pay, especially electric. So there's value that's going into creating that asset. Okay. Proof of stake is when they create a blockchain and they mint everything from day one. Now you can stake it, you can do these different things, but you still have centralized points of control. Whereas proof of work is completely decentralized. Anyone can run a flux node. Anyone can mine flux, right? You can do it today. So to me, it has to be proof of work based. It has to be a consensus model that takes into the equation of nodes, because nodes are important to spread out the decentralization, and it has to be GPU friendly. And those are the pieces that make it truly decentralized. And when you start dumping things like gold or silver or US debt behind it, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's like when people buy gold certificates, right? I bought gold certificates. Where's the gold? Where's the gold? Right. And Lyss, damn right and well, you're not buying gold certificates. You want to hold the gold. Or I'm not buying silver certificates. I'm holding the silver. It's the same way with Bitcoin. It's the same way with proof of work crypto.
Jeff agrees with me, by the way. He says Fort Knox is empty.
Amen.
I agree. It's empty. We don't have any gold there. I'm not the only one who thinks this. It's all gone.
Yep. I agree 100% with that one.
Now, I think our first question that was typed in there, I forgot, I think it was a woman who said it. She was asking, I interpreted the question as, what is it backed by? And you say, the energy, the time and everything, and you can track all the steps, but why would somebody want your time and energy as opposed to a commodity? Why do they want a piece of Bitcoin? Aside from the ease of use and transferability, but at the end of the day, why are they so concerned with that rather than, a platinum, an oil, a gold, a silver?
I think you answered your own question. Ease of use and being able to transfer very simplistically. I mean, let's face it, if I hire somebody to paint my house, I have to pay them in the end. So there has to be somebody that will accept that beyond what, so I could say to him, hey, I've got this ham, right? This ham, unless he wants ham, right? Or he knows somebody can trade this ham. Bitcoin makes it very simplistic to go. I mean, it's why the US dollar surged, because we knew a dollar was a dollar. Right. So when I paid Larry $5, Larry could spend that $5 and get $5 of value from each side. It was anonymous. It was person to person. It's everything that Bitcoin is in a digital form, is the way it should be. So there is some speculation pieces. It is a speculatory asset. Bitcoin will be $1 million.
But then hold on. Guaranteed. If that's true, and let me play devil's advocate on this one. And listen,
absolutely,
I want your head to explode on this one. But then why shouldn't we just then say that's true? So let the government get rid of the dollar and make a digital dollar. Everyone will love the digital greenback, because they all trust it and it's digital. So it's easy, little credit card swipe. It's all good. Why wouldn't we be for that then?
Because I think we're finally seeing the real evil side of the owning the financial monetary policy, right? We're seeing the fact that it controls every aspect of our lives. And we wouldn't accept this anywhere else. If there was one car manufacturer, we could only buy that car, and we could only, that we would want choice. But the one choice we hadn't been given is our financial system. And we're finally to the point where we're becoming educated enough to understand. My kids now understand monetary policy, not because I taught it to them, because they came home one day and they said, what the hell is all this stuff? And they're asking questions. They're starting to figure it out, Larry. They're starting to figure it out. So I think in the end, what it comes down to is it has needed to be looked at for a very long time. And I think it's finally getting to the point where we're absolutely 100% need to take action now. And I think that's where people are finding the value at.
So this is my other issue now. Are we going to start having multiple people or multiple agencies maybe who produce money in some way, shape, or form? Multiple agencies that produce title in some form. Like, I own this house. Why? Because the Flux title agency tells me so. That's why I own the house, versus, whatever, my county, whatever, building department. Or, my money is the money that comes from the Flux versus my money comes from the U.S. Treasury. Are you saying we're going to have all these things?
Payment by choice. So, there's already projects out there. Rise is one that's working on it right now, where you can get paid in any asset that you want, whether it's dollars or Bitcoin or Flux, whatever it is, you can get paid in all these different assets. It's payment by choice is what it comes down to. So I think we're going to be out of the business. The U.S. government's going to be out of the business of minting or creating the currency model. It's not. We were talking about this before we started the call about ending the Fed with Lyss's shirt. It's not the first time we ended the Fed. It won't be the last. When it starts to go against the better interests of all people, and I'm not just talking the U.S., we're affecting the world at this point, right? And it's cascading across the world. There's a reason why the people in the Middle East hate our guts. It's because we're bombing the shit out of them constantly, right? Because we come in, we want your oil, we're going to take your oil, right? So there definitely needs to be this paradigm shift, and we're starting to see it right now. So I think I think there will be currency by choice. They'll still, trust me, Uncle Sam's still going to get his money, right?
Going to get a cut no matter what.
Yeah, whether they change it to a flat tax and they collect tax at initiation, or obviously earning, they'll continue to keep doing that, and they'll start getting better. They will no longer be reactive to currency. Because the way they are now is if they can't control it, they become reactive to it. They go to big tech. They say, censor this, move this. We don't want this. Finance, take this out. They need to become proactive. They need to understand what the technology is and how it's being utilized. Otherwise, they're going to be passed by 100%.
See, my issue is I think that can happen, and I'm not upset about it. Like, it doesn't bother me that we would have multiple people who are creating currencies. To your point, we have technology that you can decide what currency you trust, what currency you believe. If you want to let someone buy the house in Dogecoin, you should be able to do so. I don't know why you would, but forget it. If you want to, go ahead. buy your house in Doge. It's fine, whatever
Yeah.
you think. I think we have technology where we could actually do that. I'm actually with you, and I also think something else. If you have all the things, whatever those things are, I do think you have then a higher standard of safety. In other words, you might say, I'm not going to buy your house, Daniel, because only the U.S. government says you own it. I don't trust you. I need at least 3 agencies to say you own the house, or I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've already seen people are doing, what are they, camping deeds now and taking home loans out and all. It's one of the biggest frauds out there right now. It's
absolutely.
insane.
So now I'm going to say, I'm not buying your house unless you got 3 separate organizations that say you own it. Otherwise, no. Or whatever. I mean, I think you can do that.
Well, yeah. Or you do something. Okay, so what's the biggest pain in the ass of buying a house and what you spend a lot of money for is your escrow. So essentially what an escrow agent is saying we're going to hold your money. We're going to make sure you're getting what you want and you're getting what you want, right? And they're going to charge you a premium for that. That's a smart contract, Larry.
Yep.
It's something that's deployable on the blockchain. And if the money exists and it meets that criteria, it releases. Super simple, elementary shit. Sorry, I didn't know if I could cuss, but elementary stuff.
It's fine.
Okay, elementary stuff, right? So, these are all things that there's already companies. Block Square, which is one of the Flux Labs partners, already doing deeds of homes on the blockchain. You've got, you can buy, if you go to Florida right now in Miami, you can buy a Ferrari with Bitcoin. There's already lots of people who are already exploring these options.
People are buying Ferraris with Bitcoin. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was down there. I went to a car dealership just to kind of look around for fun because I'm a car guy. And yeah, you could buy any car that was sitting on the lot with Bitcoin.
That is amazing. I love that idea completely. All right, so then is there a need though? Or is there a need for both? Or is it just good to have both, some kind of hard currency like a gold or a silver and some type of cryptocurrency? Or is it just nice to have? Is there a need for both?
Well, there's an industrial need for your silver and gold. It's inherently valuable. You can't reproduce it. You can't, work your dark magic. And, they've been trying to make gold for years. But it really is crazy the more you look into the industrial uses of it. Most people think, oh, it's shiny, it looks nice, it's pretty, it's jewelry, which you think women would be like the top buyers or whatever. But it's used in every single one of Elon's cars. Silver batteries, I guess, are going to be a huge thing. It's sort of insane. Talking about, somebody earlier was arguing about, well, we have asteroids with, tons and tons of gold and silver. We're just going to be mining.
That's what Daniel said. Elon Musk is going to bring all the gold from Mars down.
And it's going straight to zero. And I'm like, no, you know how much gold and silver it's going to cost in batteries that you consume just to get up there? Every circuit board you have, every solar panel. I keep seeing this really weird push in New York for the solar energy. You get the tax refunds. And I looked into it for shits and giggles. But the money you would save in electricity would take you like 80 years to pay off even the discounted, New York State subsidy for it. It's insane. They're forcing, I think you made a joke earlier about, what if you could only have one type of car? And Kathy Hochul is ready to go gung-ho on every, not even just cars, but school bus and garbage trucks. Have you guys ever been to Buffalo in 7 feet of snow? Those batteries don't work in snow. They all use
we're gonna have battery powered tanks. Don't worry about it. It'll all be good.
Elon Musk going to bring that gold fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I have a hard time a lot of times explaining like the value of Bitcoin to libertarians, and it's really weird to me because it seems like it just makes sense because it's a governmentless input model. Like one of the largest holders of Bitcoin is the United States government.
Yep.
But they would have to they'd have to manage it just like every other Tom, Dick, or Harry. And Satoshi Nakamoto, one of his quotes was, "It's a very attractive to libertarian viewpoint if we can explain it properly." And I think that's the biggest thing that we're working with now is coming up with that cadence to get folks to understand the unbelievable value add that it brings that you can't be controlled.
So let me bring up this piece, which again, I was ignorant years ago to this. there is a big difference between like Bitcoin and like the vast majority of cryptocurrencies. Most people think they're all the same. They just go, oh no, it's all Bitcoin's the same as whatever, same as Dogecoin. It's just that Bitcoin's popular. That's what the average person thinks. They don't get that difference. You touch the difference, right? On the mining and such, you've touched that part.
Yep.
But then there's another saying. If a coin has a CEO, don't buy it. Right? If a coin has a CEO, don't buy it. Daniel, is that true?
Well, if you think about it this way, and this is why I said if you stick with a proof of work coin versus a proof of stake coin, a proof of work doesn't have I'm not the CEO of Flux. I'm the CEO of a company that builds technology. So Influx, which is in the UK, we build technology on top of Flux, but I don't control the blockchain. It's its own entity, it's its own being. But I build technology that runs with it. And most of the companies out there, tech companies today, are looking at ways to do the same thing. They want to build on that technology. I mean, massive. I mean, Flux has been up for 6 years and never been down. It's a massive compute network that never goes down. It's up all the time, 24/7, 365. And there's tons of value to that. But yes, I do agree with that. If it's VC manipulated, if you have people that come in that are VCs that put large swaths of money into it to control it, for example, JP Morgan and what they've done with Ethereum and Fura and things like that. I mean, they control that. And all of a sudden, Ethereum moves to proof of stake, which is not proof of work, right? And they decide they're going to OFAC censor, all these different transactions. Well, who's shocked? Am I shocked? No, because it's controllable,
Right.
It has to be something that's decentralized, Larry.
So my conspiracy tinfoil hat coming out says
that. Oh, go ahead. Let's go.
I say that I've gone on the rabbit hole, and they say Bitcoin is controlled opposition. It's to suck up all the silver and gold, the hard assets, the hard currency, and poof into this digital imaginary internet money, so that the government has that large stake in it. Nancy Pelosi or whoever can go and grab all of the physical and then dump it at the top.
So the idea then would be that the people want you to buy Bitcoin so they can suck up all the hard assets.
Take up all of your actual hard cash.
But let's say they do that. Let's say you're right. And they suck up all the hard assets and we're all on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is actually decentralized, wouldn't we still have money? Or no? Am I wrong?
Because we're the ones that set the monetary value. Go back to the Yappy Stones, right? They were just big ass rocks. You know what I mean? But whoever was spending back then, that's what they deemed was the monetary policy. I mean, fiat currencies are destined to fail. They're created to fail. There's never been one that's lasted for, because they do the same thing, whether the Romans shave the coins or whatever, there's always some way men create it, men can manipulate it. Right. So I would say this, Lissa, if that was the case, the government would not be shitting their pants like they are right now with Bitcoin being so successful. And by the way, good investors are going to diversify anyway. So whether you buy gold or you buy silver, or you buy Bitcoin, it's a good educational piece. And by the way, they would have bought a shit ton more of Bitcoin if that was the case. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I was saying, for buying money, I know that lots of states are finally giving up on taxing the purchase of money. Have you heard any legislation of them trying to tax buying Bitcoin or buying any kind of crypto?
The tax, I mean, I have to pay an accountant an exorbitant amount of money to do my taxes every year because it's not easy. And actually, every transaction is considered a taxable event with Bitcoin. But now you have places like Argentina that are saying, no, we're not even going to tax Bitcoin at all. If you spend Bitcoin, we don't care. There's no tax on it. So the U.S. is truly lagging behind other countries and embracing it. And it's terrifying them. I would go the exact opposite way. I would say it wouldn't be the U.S. that created it to begin with, right? So Satoshi Nakamoto, who people in the know kind of know who he is, or who he was. But let's face it, it wouldn't be the U.S. that did it. They already controlled everything. You know what I mean? It would have had to been somewhere like, China or Russia or somebody that wanted to really attack the U.S. monetary policy. but I
There
don't,
we go.
it is what it is. I'm glad Satoshi's greatest gift was the Bitcoin white paper. His second greatest gift is he went away.
So let me, if I could, I want to grab some more comments. Before I do that, Liz, tell me about what you're doing. How should people be following? What should they be, how should they be looking at you and checking you out?
I'm mostly just shit posting. It's yelling
I like that.
government bureaucrats, yelling at the clouds, being the youngest boomer ever, telling people to buy shiny rocks. And I hate to say buy. I mean, New York, it disgusts me that if I want to exchange my debt notes for cold, like hard assets, I need to pay tax on that.
Yes.
It's just wild to me. But no, I like share meme. All my stuff isn't about gold and silver. A fair chunk of it is, but I diversify my posting too.
I like that. Daniel, tell us about how they can find you. How should they be checking you out?
Yeah, so you can check me out on Twitter at @DAK_flux. You can also follow us, our project, which is runonflux.io. It's also for Twitter. It's @runonflux. And yeah, I'm pretty much a cypherpunk, a libertarian, and a technologist at heart. So as I mentioned at the beginning, Larry, herding cats with the Libertarian Party has been very difficult, right?
Yes.
So I prefer code because it just is easier.
It is.
This freedom through code is the way that I believe we should be.
Absolutely. So Legacy Zach asked a question. He says something. He says, don't use mainstream exchanges. Is that a real fear or no? I feel like everyone wants to use like Coinbase. That's the popular one that everyone has. I'm pretty sure I used Coinbase years ago when I first purchased my Bitcoin. I'm pretty sure I still have a Coinbase account. I don't actually remember. My wife has it. But I'm pretty sure I still have it. Is this a bad thing?
I tell everybody to treat centralized exchanges like the bathroom at a mobile gas station. You get in, you don't touch anything, and you get out as fast as you can, right? So it's the exact same scenario with centralized exchanges. It is a pinch point. So exchanges can be hacked. Your assets can be seized. Whatever it is. So get in, get out quickly. There's a lot of DeFi products out there now that are being developed that don't necessary. Matter of fact, Flux has one inside of it called Fusion, which you can go from one asset to the other asset. The tax burden is yours, right? So you're going to be the one that has to figure out what the tax burden is locally. But there's no central point of contact. There's no person in the middle that's controlling where you're going. So I think DeFi will be the future for how we trade assets and move from one currency to another currency. But we're far away from what that'll be in its final form.
Legacy Zach goes on to ask, what recommendation for a hard wallet do you have?
I used to really like Ledger until they started doing some stuff with, hey, we can help keep part of your seed phrase. How about no? That's just basically creating like a bank model, a legacy bank model. I like Tangem Wallet. It's pretty sweet. There's Trezor is another decent one. I think anything that's a hard wallet is better than keeping it on a centralized exchange. We actually have a product that we've built. It's called Zelcore, which is a multi-asset platform. You can keep Bitcoin and 80,000 other assets inside of Zelcore, which is it's a software base, but it's very, very, very secure. So you can check that out as well. So you can use that as a warm wallet or a hot wallet, which means you walk around, keep it in your pocket, and then you can keep a cold wallet, stash it somewhere that nobody. This is where mine's at, but you know what I'm saying.
There we go. All right, I'm glad that was that answered your question. Good. So Liberty, what should we be doing, Liberty, for when it comes to buying hard assets? Should we be buying big chunks of gold and keeping them in our basement?
I wouldn't tell you where to put it, but everyone knows where do you buy it. I said whatever's cheapest. Lots of people want to go for sovereigns, government minted coins, which definitely
I see that all the time. That is the most common thing I see. That like literally they go, oh, I saw this from like the so and so mint. My friend saw the advertisement on like some TV show or on some podcast. Go to this mint, and then you'll get the coin. I see that constantly.
Yeah, it's interesting. You see lots of people taking advantage of, especially older folks, the premiums. I think spot is like about $23 right now. Not even. It might have gone down a little bit. But you're buying silver eagles. The premiums on they want $50 an ounce for what? I say whatever's cheapest. I really like constitutional coinage. I like to play with my junk all the time. I'll sit there and have all these little guys in there. But silver dimes, if you really think a shit hit the fan scenario, or even if it doesn't, and silver goes to $300 an ounce, you're not going to want to be spending 1 ounce on anything. You're going to need a half of a dime, a merc, the
Right.
90% coinage. I know people are getting into Canadian coinage too. But I say ounces are ounces. I go for weight. I have some pretty little pieces in my collection. They're cute, but I am a girl still. But I definitely am stacking for weight.
I do like that. I do. That's great. Excellent. Guys, if you like what you're hearing, then do me a favor. If you're watching this right now, click the like button. If you're listening, please do so. If you're on Twitter, please retweet this. It's great. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. If you want to support the show, there's several ways you can. You can super chat me if you want to. If you're on YouTube, you can also join, become a member. $49 per month will help me to push this thing forward. The Patreon if you want to. Or patreon.com/sharpeway also works. Any of those will work well to support, but no matter what, the simplest one, click the like button. The simplest one you can do. Please follow these guys as I've asked you more than once. Guys, anything I missed before we wrap up? Anything you want to say before we go?
I appreciate coming on, Larry. I've been listening to you for a long time, and you do great work, and I really appreciate it. So thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Liz, anything?
The one little part of New York that I like. Hopefully you stick around. So, thanks for having me.
So far, I'm still here. Everyone, have a great night. I will see you all. By the way, I will be on tomorrow on my radio show, 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time on WYSL, talking about more New York stuff that Liz is going to hate. Anyway, I'll see you all very soon.
See.